that way. But one of the things I wanted to talk about today was shame. And one of the things I've noticed in dealing people with shame is that it's like there seems to never be able to be shame without contempt. And what shame does is it ruins our experience for delight or pleasure um, towards ourselves. So when I say that shame and contempt are interwoven with each other, what I mean is that as soon as I do something that, let's say, I believe brings shame upon me, it can be something like I can be in a restaurant eating and spill a cup of coffee down my white shirt, which happens. And that can cause me to go one of two directions with my shame. I feel shame, I've been seen, eyes are on me, and so I'm noticed and I'm perceiving that there's being a judgment made on me. This is all could possibly just only be in my imagination, but it's what I'm thinking at the time. And so I have the option of either self-contempt or other contempt. If I self-contempt, I'm going to put myself down and say, how stupid am I? What a fool. What an idiot. I can't believe I did that. I do that all the time. If I go to other contempt, it's, I went to pick up that cup of coffee and I think that waitress had some oil or something on her hand, because when I grabbed that coffee cup, it just slid right out of my hand and spilled over my shirt. I don't understand why these people don't do their dishes better here. This is such a dirty place. You see the difference? So I can always go to self-contempt or other contempt. If I fall in public, trip, and I can think to myself, I don't even want to look around because I don't want to know whose eyes have seen me. And so I just tell myself, I'm a fool. Why didn't I see that? Blah, blah, blah. If I go to other contempt, then the person I'm walking with, I look over to them and I'm like, how many times do you trip a day? I bet, oh, I remember that last time you tripped. In other words, I try to turn the story around and put it on the other person. So then the eyes, I feel like at that moment, are not on me, but I've taken my shame through contempt and put it onto the other person. So that's the reason why I say it's like, it's very insidious because, shame, like I said, if it ruins our delight or what we take pleasure in, then depending on how we grew up and our trauma, if you were shamed a lot by your parents, then you might tend to internally shame yourself more. Or you may have chosen to pick up their style, and because they were other contempt and how they put you down and shamed, then that tends to be your style. And it really stinks if you haven't healed and dealt through this stuff, because inadvertently, you don't mean to, you never mean to, but these things slide out at your kids, and then you go, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just said that to them. There's the shame. I'm a bad mom. What a bad parent. I can't believe I did that or said that to my kid. And then you need to get the cycle going again. So what I would hope is that you can break that cycle within yourself so you don't pass it on, not to your children, if you don't have children, to the people around you. Because remember, our whole thing about this is that we want to learn how to be able to more love ourselves so we can more deeply love others, and then therefore increase our compassion to want to go out into the world and do something to help other people. So just realize and notice during the week as you're going through time, again, your self-talk, it's huge. Like, what are you saying to yourself? Are you putting yourself down? I mean, it can just be throughout the day over dropping your keys. What do you say to yourself? When you forget to get something at the grocery store. Anything that can be like that. The other thing is that it's just really, you can't ever resolve conflicts with contempt, because it becomes either one person's taking all the fault and doing the self-contempt, and the other person's the other contemptor and more than gladly to dump their contempt onto you. And so that's not a good situation. So you need to notice in your relationships, how is contempt being handled? Because to the degree that you feel like you're gonna be judged and seen with contempt, to that degree, you fear loss of the relationship because that person may just eventually give up on you. And then if you're other contempt oriented, you keep people at such a distance, you don't ever get to know intimacy and vulnerability because your whole goal is to protect your heart over opening your heart. And as long as that's true, every time you experience anything close to shame, you're going to want to hurt somebody to take the focus off of yourself. So just notice what's going on with that, because it always goes back to our trauma. And a lot of times the shame is trying to keep us from dealing with the trauma because we're misapplying shame to the trauma, thinking that the trauma, whatever happened in our childhood or happened in our life or an incident that was beyond our control, all these things that we can't do anything about, our mind has a way of trying to shame us or contempt us, to hold us responsible for something that you don't have anything to do with. And so we give ourselves a lot more power than we really do have in that way. And, when you're dealing with your trauma, sometimes it's okay. I don't think it's ever good to go back in counseling or to yourself or reading a self-help book and deliberately try to think, what is all the trauma that happened to me? What happened? I wonder what happened when I was 1, 4, 5. See, I think it more happens like this in a natural flow. I think there's a spiritual flow to it, an ebb and a flow. I think that's the grace of God. And I think what happens is that just when you feel like you're maybe facing so much, then you're given kind of a reprieve. And that's not an accident, that's grace. So if you're supposed to remember something, you will. If you're supposed to remember something, it will come up in your relationship, in your work, in an experience, and you'll notice it in your present life. When that's happening and there's a pattern, then you can look back and go, okay, let's try to see if there's something from the past that's keeping this presently ignited in my present view of myself, others, and relationships. So that's what I want us to look at, because sometimes it's okay if you want to circle the airport for a while. A lot of people that have severe trauma do that. That's part of what helps you be able to ease into it and face it. It's like you don't ask like your small child to go do the hardest thing that they can't even do yet. They can't ride a tricycle, but you're going to go, hey, you got to go ride that 2-wheel bicycle, no training wheels, and get it done. No, you're not going to do that. God's not like that. So what happens is we're given the grace to even go around the issue and around the issue. And then eventually, when it feels safe and it feels like you're in good company, someone that can handle helping you navigate, you'll land the plane. And then you'll start dealing with that piece of trauma until the next one comes up, if there is another one. And then you'll deal with that one. So it's more like that. It's more of a weaving back and forth, not like this intense, you must think about all this right now, because that amount of shame would so overwhelm us that we would go to contempt. And the contempt is almost like a force field from grace. It's like it will not allow it to penetrate until you're ready. And then when you open up, that grace can come in and heal. So the contempt served a purpose when you were growing up. It perhaps really did help protect you. And maybe in some present relationships that are really, really severe, it's helped. But at some point, you've got to figure out a way to live life and do relationships without contempt. Because if you're contempting yourself and other people, then to that degree, you're not knowing them and you're not knowing you. So I hope this helps, and we'll just keep going. And like I said, hopefully I'll be able to sometime arrange something where I can set something up where we can go into things for, a longer period of time. All right, take care, and I'll see you next Friday. Bye-bye. Love you.